Spring. A time when all of nature's creatures come to life. But wait, what's that? A pothole? And another? Don't wave the white flag just yet. For a suspension that rides as good as new, get tried and true shocks and struts from Monroe at your neighborhood Advance Auto Parts. And get them even faster when you order online and pick them up in store. Advance Auto Parts. Let's get you back to the garage. Some restrictions apply. See store for details.
All right, it's Tuesday, so you're listening to the family-friendly version of the Steve Austin Show. Now, this is a show to save the entire family, and we're fixing to get things started right after I say thanks for supporting the sponsors who make the Steve Austin Show podcast possible. And, man, are you going to be glad to hear about thebooks.com because Mother's Day is this Sunday. Hello, Mother's Day is this Sunday, and if you're a procrastinator like I am, you have a tendency to put things off, then I'm sure you still don't have a gift for Mom yet. Problem solved. Go to Books.com and order up some of the best flowers of her life. I'll tell you what makes Books flowers so great. They're grown on the side of a volcano, and that ain't no joke, people. Grown on the side of a volcano. Books flowers are grown at eco-friendly farms on the side of a volcano, and that's probably why the blooms are larger and the colors are more vibrant. It's that volcano soil and the fact that the flowers get more sun when they grow at 10,000 feet up the side of a volcano. Some great 411. And if you use my promo code Steve, you can get 20% off the bouquet of your choice. And let me tell you, Books.com ain't going to bust your wallet up either. They got prices starting at just $40. No upcharges, no extra fees. Hey, Mom knows second-rate flowers when she sees them, so don't go that route. Show your thanks for all that she's done for you by giving her flowers from Books.com. And like I said, use my promo code Steve and save 20% off the bouquet of your choice. Go to Books.com now. Use my promo code Steve to save 20%. Delivery is also absolutely FREE free when you register with the Books. No upcharges, no extra fees, free delivery. What are you waiting for? Go to Books.com, use my promo code Steve, and take care of Mom for Mother's Day right now.
The following program is a PodcastOne.com production. From Hollywood, California, by way of the Broken Skull Ranch, this is the Steve Austin Show.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Now, here's Steve Austin.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Steve Austin Show. I am coming to you from the mean streets of Los Angeles, California. I'm in my office here at 316 Gimmick Street. Making the open to this show, get ready to turn into Stacy down over to 90210 Beverly Hills District. I just came from my doctor's office. I am 12 days out from rotator cuff surgery. I just got the stitches taken out of my right shoulder. Tell you what, it was good to see the doctor. The wounds are healing just fine. I got a chance to talk to him in depth and get a complete all the paperwork and all the stuff that they did to my right shoulder, and also attached my right bicep, which was blown off. I'm going to give you the details of that coming on this Thursday's podcast because I like to talk medical talk when I can use four-letter words to intersperse all the scientific jargon. So I'll bring you the full update on the whole procedure that Dr. Neil Elatrash performed on my right shoulder on the upcoming Thursday podcast. I haven't decided what that entire podcast is going to be all about yet. I'm going to come up with that in the next day or two. I do know that Teddy Fowler and I will be breaking down and reviewing the Leo DiCaprio movie, The Revenant. Remember that movie I was talking about watching all those months ago? I finally set my ass down and watched it because I ain't got a whole lot of things to do because my shoulder's in a pinch in the sling, so I watched that movie. Ted watched it too. Check it out. We're going to discuss it, break it down, and give it a review, thumbs up, down, numbers, whatever. That's what we're doing coming up on Thursday, along with the other part of the podcast. Hey, man, I'm going to jump right into today's show because I talked to Wade Keller, the Pro Wrestling Torch, and we're going to break down WWE's Payback pay-per-view. Well, it's a pay-per-view. They don't do pay-per-views anymore. You can watch it on the WWE Network. I had a good time talking to Wade. I thought the show was outstanding. I thought every match on the card was very good to excellent and off the chart. Listen to the show. You'll hear I got a lot of praise for a lot of people. Guys and gals busted their asses. The crowd in Chicago at that building was off the hook. Congrats to Chicago for being such a badass, lively crowd. When you're that rowdy, when you're that into the action, and it just makes it so much easier for the guys. And for some reason, man, it was a good day at the office for all the guys and the gals because everybody had a stellar match. Going to break down this pay-per-view. Not too much critique because everything was so goddamn good. I really enjoyed the show. I don't know what your feedback on it was. After you listen to the podcast, feel free to drop me an email at questions@steveaustonshow.com because I thought the guys knocked it out of the park. Interesting setups. It's going to be interesting because this show drops after the Monday Night Raw, which follows the pay-per-view, so I don't get a chance to see where a couple of storylines are going from a finish standpoint, as Wade and I discussed. But nonetheless, I think you'll dig today's show. And before we get to today's show, I want to say a big shout-out and a big thank you to all of the athletes, the men and the women, who came out to the Broken Skull Challenge this past season. This past season was totally off the charts. The badass, what a way to finish the season. Hunter finishes the season as the returning champion as far as the men go. And right down to the wire, here comes your young lady named Cassie and blows away my returning champion Candace's time by 15 seconds. And it was close. I mean, when I say blow it away, Candace is such an unbelievable athlete. I didn't know if that time could ever be broken. But Cassie comes in there just very composed, very calculated, very athletic, and just a real person that thinks on her feet while she's undergoing the task at hand. And she is a badass chick. So, man, thank you to the men and women who came out to the ranch. I had a great time hanging out with you. Hopefully we'll see what happens over there at CMT, if they're going to keep the show going or yank it off the air. That remains to be seen, and that's not up to me. They'll make that decision. When I hear the word, I'll put the word on the street so they can get some casting going, so we can get some more badasses coming out there to see who is the baddest SOB in the United States of America, taking on 3 rounds of bracket-style competition and facing my Skullbuster, which, if it comes back, it will be bigger, badder, and meaner than this season, and that's the bottom line. Anyway, hey, man, let me take care of a little bit of business before we go any further and tell you about something that will make taking care of projects around your house a heck of a lot easier. It's the Works Switch Driver. It's a power drill that lets you rotate from drill to driver without changing bits, so you can get all those home projects done quick and easy. And Switch Driver is cordless too, so that means no tripping over or getting tangled up in the cord. And don't worry about the torque and power of the cordless switch driver. This thing has a 20-volt max lithium battery, so it's going to drill whatever you need just fine, and you'll have plenty of power to drive in that screw. The dual chuck is the key. That's what lets you rotate from drill to driver without changing bits, and that's what will save you time. Like I said, you can take care of any project on your list and have plenty of time left over to knock back a couple of ice-cold Broken Skull IPAs. Hello! You can see the switch driver in action at works.com, and when you do, you'll notice that it's not only a really powerful tool, but it's also lightweight. It's a great choice if you have to get stuff done while standing on a ladder or reaching above your head. So go to workswitchdriver.com. That's WORX switchdriver.com, and use the promo code Steve at checkout to receive 10% and free shipping. That's WORX switchdriver.com, and use my promo code Steve to receive 10% off and free shipping. Double your power and save you time. Get yourself a Works Switch Driver.
The Steve Austin Show. The Steve Austin Show.
All right, this is Steve Austin coming to you from 316 Gimmick Street. I got Wade Keller, the Pro Wrestling Torch, on the other end of the line. We were going to break down WWE Payback. Recent pay-per-view just happened Sunday night, Chicago All-State Arena. Packed crowd, 13,250 announced people there. Chicago is one of my favorite crowds to work in front of. These people were on fire the entire night. I love Chicago. Wade, your thought on the atmosphere, just the energy of the crowd and that building specifically, because that place is very special to me.
They've always been great, Steve. I mean, it's that crowd shows up to express themselves, but what I like about them too is they're not distracting. Like they want to express themselves, but they want to express themselves as as you would want if you were a wrestler. Maybe not Roman Reigns, but if they're not just there to take the attention away from the action and become the show. They actually kind of appreciate and respect what the wrestlers are trying to do. They have high standards, but they react, I think, in a respectful, passionate way.
There's something about those people. I don't know what it is. Again, the acoustics of that building I've always loved. And I got some of my best reactions there. I had some of my best memories there. But anyway, I love the crowd. Interesting way, they started off the show with a new era package, and it showed all of the new current superstars and left a lot of the other guys, the older guys, out. And I thought the opening package was really interesting, really well done, and it really made me feel excited for the future because, man, they've got a lot of momentum coming around the curve with a lot of great talent. I thought the package was really well done, lots of energy, and just a real shot of B12 in the arm as far as the program goes, in my opinion. I love that package.
I think it's good, Steve, that they're trying to define what they are right now because since WrestleMania, there's so much new talent. And I think if you just suddenly don't have John Cena, Seth Rollins, Randy Orton, and on, if you don't have them around and you have a bunch of newer guys, granted, there's people who follow NXT and the indie scene, and this is their favorite time in years. But there's a big part of the fan base that just is wondering what the heck's going on, And I think for WWE to wrap it around basically a marketing slogan or campaign and like Robert Kennedy always said, shine a lantern on your problems. WWE is kind of shining a lantern on their changes, and they're putting their own spin on it so people don't say, what's going on here? These aren't the stars I remember. They're framing it in a way where I think fans can go, all right, I'm on board. If they're embracing this, they're confident about it, and they think that this is a new era to invest in. I think it's smart marketing. Okay,
and I think I had my order turned around a little bit. I guess New Day ended up coming out, cutting the promo. It was a good promo, and those guys are highly entertaining together, the three of them, and they were going to sit down and be ringside while the number one contender for the tag titles was going to go into the ring, and so they're going to be ringside. Yeah. And so that leads us to the match of Enzo and Big Cass, who I love, come out to cut a good promo, and that's kind of their gimmick, and they're going to wrestle the Vaudevillains. And there's not a whole lot to talk about on this match because they started off good, and then all of a sudden Gotch goes to throw Enzo out. Too much force. Enzo takes a really wicked bump, bounces his head off that bottom rope, hits the apron, then tumbles out. And I guess he's concussed, he's knocked out, and he looks really, really bad. And remember, I called you last night while I was watching my show, and you gave me an update on his condition. Now, my thoughts on that are, Gotch, when you're throwing a man through the ropes at that short of a distance, you back off the horsepower. You threw him in with way too much force. I know it was unintentional. I know you're excited, but when you're that close, you've got to slow the horsepower down, and basically you just kind of guide him out, give him a little bit of momentum, but you throw him so hard, so close, he could not control anything. That resulted in the wicked bump. And then one more mistake. You went and picked the man up by his head when he was really in a bad position, looked bad. You've got to be able to sense that. So 2 messages. Don't use that much horsepower that close to the rings. It's dangerous, and don't pick a man up by his head if you even have an inkling that something went wrong. Wade, your thoughts on what I just said. Do you understand that?
I do, and I actually was wondering what you would think of that spot. I mean, I've watched it a few times, but I was looking forward to talking to you about it because I was curious about that also. If it seemed as if Gotch, it might have been the spotlight. I mean, this is clearly the biggest match of his career, and I don't know if have you experienced that, Steve, where a wrestler who's maybe on a bigger stage than he's used to, or might have the nerves going, the adrenaline flowing, where he might do some things with a little bit more force and be a little less in control than maybe he would be otherwise?
Well, it was a whole different set of circumstances. It was when Big Show made his debut in WWE, and I was wrestling Vince in the cage, and he was just ragdolling me, throwing me around that cage, and I was bouncing off. But he was throwing me with such force that I wanted to bounce around and sell for him more than I could. Now, he certainly didn't hurt me, but it was just the power of being manhandled by a guy who's really excited, and Big Show's really, really strong. Of course, the cage broke. I fell down, but I told Show, I said, man, I was going to bounce punch around for you like crazy, but I couldn't because you were throwing me so hard. And there's no hard feelings there. But yes, certainly that can happen. But on a deal like that, when you're so close to the ropes, you're basically guiding a guy out. It's give him a little momentum and let him take his bump. So again, I'm not coming down on Gotch, and I think the excitement got a hold of him. But man, a really scary bump. And in today's day and age, and that the referee is usually Johnny on the spot, and a great medical out there that do the hand squeeze or whatever. But Gotch, check on a man before you grab him by the head if you suspect anything. And that's just words of wisdom, not eating your ass out, just saying, hey, ease up on horsepower, and we'll move on to the next thing. And the match was stopped, so we'll see what they make out of this as far as writing the show. I put a call in to Enzo after the match just to check on him. Does have a concussion. We had a little conversation. He was all there, and they were riding down the road booking the territory. So Enzo, get well soon. Thinking about you. I like both tag teams. Really taking a liking to Big Cass and Enzo. I think those guys got a lot of potential, and we'll see what happens with them.
And that spot is one of the reasons I hate the "you effed up" chant that fans call, that fans chant sometimes. The stuff that wrestlers, the moves and the coordination and everything that goes on in that ring, there's going to be mess ups sometimes.
Right.
And I get it if a guy is just a slob and unprofessional, or whatever. We're just you want to send a message to the wrestler, to the promotion. This guy doesn't belong in the ring for some reason. At some indie show or something like that.
Right.
I mean, I guess I can maybe accept it there a little bit, but when two guys mess up a move, but they're trying to do something complex, or in the case like this, the nerves get to you, they both are going 110 miles an hour in a 70-mile-an-hour zone, stuff can happen. And the fact that they're putting their necks on the line literally, I just think I just kind of want to see a new era of fan response. And, there's kind of the smart fan, whatever era where people just took it upon themselves to vocalize to wrestlers in a negative way. In ways that I think weren't appropriate. And I'm not saying don't, boo a guy if you don't want him to get pushed or whatever, but in terms of a missed move,
right.
This to me was one of those really good examples of, hey, these guys, they're always at risk of something going wrong, and moves are going to be messed up sometimes, and give them some slack.
Yeah, and on top of that, I mean, sometimes, again, on something so simple as that, you would think no one could ever get hurt. But just like stories I've told in the past, hey, man, let's take it easy out there. There ain't too many people out there. We're going to give them a show, and then somebody will blow a knee out. Just running the ropes. The damnedest things could happen at the damnedest times. This was one of them, but too much force, and anything can happen at any time. It's sports entertainment. I still call it pro wrestling. I'll stick with that, but it can be highly, highly dangerous.
One other note that I want to say is I sure hope that in no way is this used against either of the teams, because they've worked together a lot in NXT. This has not happened before. They're in the big spotlight. It just doesn't go right. But Enzo and Cass are a really good act. They know who they are. They take command of the room. And Enzo should be obviously out of the ring for the proper protocol. But right. I hope this doesn't lead to any kind of, toning down of their push once Enzo's ready to go again.
Yes, I hope they keep the gas down with these guys. And on Gotch's behalf, he is a pretty damn good technician. So, again, a little bit amped up, and let's move along. And we moved into the Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn story, which was a great story. And there's some classic lines in there where, Kevin Owens is just, he's really coming into his own, and he's been coming into his own. Both these guys are tried and true veterans. But a couple of the one-liners out of that package, he says that Sami Zayn should have seen it coming. He says, if this is personal, it's because he's making it personal. Yep. I'm a victim. So, that's just, you don't get no better than that. What classic, great heel shtick by Kevin Owens, great on the microphone. And, Sami Zayn has been tremendous. And sometimes Sami, every now and then he'll have a tendency to oversell, and it can become just a little bit on the hokey side. But, boy, not on this night. These guys shined like the two veterans that they are. This match was a main event in the second match spot. These guys totally crushed it. Great sequences. You'll hear me say this all night long about the pacing. There was great pacing in every single match on this card. I love this pay-per-view. I should have said this off at the top. This is probably the best pay-per-view I've seen in a couple of years. And in my opinion, this card, it wasn't the spectacle that was WrestleMania. But if you want to talk about a string of matches that was the entire card, this blows everything out of the water for the last couple of years for me. Your comments on that?
Yeah, just, I mean, overall, I thought that there was some offsetting aspects to it, just in terms of the really long McMahon, Shane, Steph segment. I thought that took away from the show. So I think there's some things that offset.
I think that was setting up, that they had to have that for the come down before the main event. And there were so many great matches. You needed something to slow everything down and say, okay, here we go back to, the task at hand. That's the main event. So I actually thought that segment did go a little long, and we'll get to it in a minute. But it was done in premier fashion. I love seeing those three in the ring. Stephanie is wonderful. Her character, her command on the microphone, and Shane's does well too. Of course, the old man is the old man, tremendous, but Stephanie's a show stealer when she has a microphone in her hand, and her character, she's magnificent.
We'll get to it later. But
let's get to this. But
I'm tempted to say my favorite line, but let's save it for later with Stephanie.
Okay, but let's talk about this match, because there was just some great sequences. These guys have worked together a million times, but it wasn't that. It's just that you have two premier hands. The setup was right. The story was right. These guys can both work their asses off. And again, this could have been the main event. That's how good this match was. Some of the sequences, I have 2 pages of notes, but I'm not going to run through them and just call the whole match. But they're on Sami's part, tremendous selling and tremendous fire, and Kevin's part, just tremendous execution and just tremendous. Everything looked good. I can't say that anything looked bad in this match. At one point, the comeback out of the blue, being real nitpicky, it wasn't built to in quite enough fashion. So there's a comeback out of the blue, which leads to a blue thunder bomb, and then another blue thunder bomb. But I just thought that came out of the blue. But other than that, the match was off the charts.
Oh, it was. I mean, these two have done basically every spot in this match. They've done it before. It's a matter of refining it, telling the story that they want to tell at this stage of the feud. And again, this is chapter 1 of the feud for this new larger audience. But they've incorporated the backstory into this first chapter. So it's a different first chapter than they've done previously in NXT, most recently. And yet it felt fresh. I mean, because of the larger stage, and because I thought the announcers did a nice job talking about, like Michael Cole talked about the timeline of how Sami made it to NXT a year before Kevin Owens, and that was part of the jealousy that was kind of brewing, and that it was 14 years in the making, and they never probably imagined that they'd be on this stage. That all rang true. I mean, whether Kevin Owens was happy for Sami in real life or truly jealous, it all rings true within the narrative, and I love that. I also really liked that they talked about Kevin Owens as a future world champion, and then Byron Saxton jumped in and said, hey, both of them have a tremendous upside. I like that they talk about both guys as future main eventers, not just, aren't they nice workers and they're little guys, but they don't have the body type. It's like that wasn't even implicit or in the undercurrent of their commentary. The announcers gave credit to not only the wrestlers, but I think gave the fans of these two, whether they're newer fans or longtime fans of their work, the narrative that they wanted, which is these two are fighting and scratching and clawing to get to the championship, not just settle a lower card feud. So I thought the announcing served this match well also. But I'm with you. I mean, these two, I can watch them. I mean, they're a perfect match for each other. And Kevin Owens, you talked about Sami showing great fire, playing to the crowd. Kevin Owens is so good at gloating when he gets the advantage, and it's perfect heel gloating. I mean, he doesn't overdo it, but you believe him, and you want to boo him.
And so, it ends up, going to just some of the action, going for the, I guess he's going to go for a powerbomb on the apron, ends up getting backdropped onto the apron. Sami backdrops KO on the apron, which is a nice sequence, a lot of high-impact stuff. That running DDT that Sami Zayn jumps through the turnbuckles and hits every single time is amazing, and I don't know how he's able to do it. He's a premier athlete, but Sami charged KO in the corner. KO caught him with a super kick. Boom, push him into the ropes for the ride. Pop-up powerbomb, 1, 2, 3, clean in the middle. I don't know the time on this match. What'd you have it down at, Wade?
Where'd it go? 14:30.
Okay, 14:30. Just a perfect amount of time for this match. And though Zayn got beat clean in the middle of the ring, did not hurt him at all. He shined so much in this match from every single aspect, whether it's selling fire, offense, the whole strategy, the psychology of the match, the way it was put together. Again, the comeback was a little bit out of the blue, but I just have great match and 3 exclamation points for both guys. Your thoughts on KO going over, your thoughts on Zayn going under, and did that, in your opinion, tarnish him? Because I think not at all.
Well, first of all, you have to do you got to do a finish.
Someone's got to lose.
Yeah, you can't do Charlotte the Charlotte Natalia finish. Thank God, every match where there's some sort of cop out or something. So there's got to be a winner, and I like that. I like when heels go over clean sometimes. Not every single time a heel wins does it have to be super some shenanigans. Now I think it makes sense most of the time that a heel is defined by the fact that if they're against somebody at their level on the roster, they are a heel. Part of what defines them as a heel is that they use underhanded tactics because they're not good enough to win fair and square, or at least that's the impression you want fans to have, because fans tend to cheer for winners. And so in this case, though, Kevin Owens is so good at being a heel, and Sami Zayn is such a good, sympathetic opponent that no harm is done with Kevin going over clean the way that he did. Second of all, and probably more important, the Sami Zayn character, and this is a story that's always told with him, is he always comes up just a bit short. But he's so likable, he's so hardworking, he's so earnest, he's so good at what he does that you're along for the ride, and you just wait for him as that 5% underdog who comes up short. And they told the story brilliantly in NXT last year. When that day finally comes that he gets the big win, there's this huge explosion. There's this huge emotional release from his fans. So it was absolutely the right call for him to go real competitive, 15 minutes. He could have won. He came up just short, and he will fight another day. And now Kevin Owens, of course, is going to gloat to no end about it, and you're going to even more so want to see Sami get his revenge.
And again, one more shout-out to Sami Zayn. You were awesome, off-the-charts performance. Again, also to Kevin Owens. But we're going to stick with Kevin Owens because he calls Byron Saxton into the ring to interview him. And he said, no, over here, this is my good side. And he tells Byron what questions to ask. And then basically he's going to refocus, on his IC championship. And, by the way, I will do commentary on the IC match. And I have just a dash and loved it. So here we go. He's sitting ringside. They go to a Camp Wood commercial about this upcoming cartoon they have. The personal note, the Stone Cold voice on that character that represents me is absolutely horrendous. But that being said, your thoughts on the mic work done by Kevin Owens during the match? I thought it was phenomenal. Setting up the match, I thought it was tremendous.
I love Kevin Owens' commentary, but if you have the mute button on and they show him, he's still the most entertaining thing. He's as entertaining as it gets, even with the mute button pushed. His wearing the cowboy hat, feet kicked up, the posture, just the way that he chose a chair to sit in. I mean, he's just phenomenal at this, and they are to have these matches go in this order, and for him to go off a victory and then sit at ringside like that was great. But yeah, if you don't have the mute button pushed, which you should not, he's phenomenal. I mean, he's phenomenal. I love the little touch where he said, that he's a better commentator than Colin Saxton, and then of course being the kiss ass, he goes and I'm as good. I'm equally good as JBL. Like he doesn't want to upset the guy who's got his back, so he's just like, I'm as good as you, JBL, which is kind of a dig because it's not his profession to be a commentator, but he sees it as a compliment to JBL. And yeah, he was great throughout. He added to this match for sure.
All right, got to take a minute to say thanks for supporting all the great sponsors of the Steve Austin Show, and that includes my buddy Diamond Dallas Page, DDP Yoga, and his new DDP Yoga Now app. You can download DDP's great new app at iTunes or the Google Play Store. Dallas has thought of everything with this app. He's got all the workouts on it, a link so that you can do live workouts from the DDP Yoga Performance Center in Georgia. He's got recipes, nutrition tips, and even cooking demonstrations so you can learn how to prepare healthier meals for yourself. He's even got a rewards program built in so that the more yoga you do, the more points you earn. And then you can redeem those points for some great DDP Yoga merch and other prizes. And right now, you can get 3 free months of the DDP Yoga Now app when you buy the DDP Yoga program at ddpyoga.com/Austin. That's right. Diamond Dallas Page is giving all you guys a very special deal. Just go to ddpyoga.com/Austin to take advantage of it. As Dallas always says, all you have to do to start living a healthier life is commit to the program. So get started now at ddpyoga.com/Austin. Weeds are like nature's boomerang, and Roundup knows they keep coming back. With one spray of Roundup Max Control 365, kill those stubborn little rascals right down to the root and keep them away for up to a year. Draw the line and stop weeds from boomeranging back. And you know what I'm drawing the line at this week? China being a badass performer who had an incredible impact on the business of professional wrestling. She worked so hard and got herself so over during the Attitude Era. She had a great look and she could work. She was a pioneer in the women's division, and China was the first woman to take part in a Royal Rumble and one of the first women to act as a guy's heater or backup muscle. I know you guys know what she did for the Triple H character back in the day. And China was a sweetheart of a lady and a pleasure to work with, and she loved the business. So I draw the line at China being among the best in the squared circle business. And Roundup's drawing a line at weeds. Your patio should be for cooking out and kicking back. Roundup Max Control 365 helps keep it that way by keeping weeds away for up to a year. One spray of Roundup Max Control 365 gets you up to 365 days of weed-free relaxation time. Draw the line. Okay, let's talk about the IC title match between Miz and Cesaro, and Miz has Maurice with him, and I love the fact that they rolled out the red carpet. Here comes the Miz. He's great at being this character. He's phenomenal. And here comes Cesaro, and man, I've got nice work by both guys. I basically just said distraction by Maurice for the finish, but Kevin Owens was great on commentary, but man, these guys worked their ass off, and I didn't think, and I really like both these guys, and Cesaro, I think, is really going to start catching fire after this. I hope he does, and Miz is doing a great job for himself, but this was another tremendous match. I absolutely loved it. I think this is probably the best Miz match I've ever seen, and of course, Cesaro always seems to be able to shine. They had great chemistry together. They told a great story. And some of the flying, the European uppercuts into the corner. Finally, he goes and hits the ropes a couple times. Vicious drop kick on the Miz. Miz hits his finale. There's a kick out, and all of a sudden, Zayn attacks Kevin Owens out of the blue. And here we go. I mean, there's just total chaos, and it was awesome.
Oh, it was. And Cesaro would have had the tap-out win. So he kind of gets that visual win, even though the ref didn't see it. And so that's kind of the heat. Miz gets heat on him because he ultimately won, but it was only due to chaos. Cesaro would have won if not. I don't think heat goes on Sami for this. I was kind of thinking, if I'm Cesaro, maybe I get a little upset that Sami Zayn couldn't wait till the match was over to, get his revenge on Kevin Owens. But I also understand Sami gets beat up post-match. He comes to. He wants to know where Kevin Owens is. You can imagine all this happening. And then he realizes Kevin Owens is bragging on commentary, and he's like, I can't wait any longer. And he charges to the ring. The desire for revenge gets the best of him. And so if they do a four-way match, it actually sets up an issue nicely if they go this route where Cesaro can say, Sami, I had this match, and you couldn't wait. So it actually, I think, but I don't think you look at either Sami or Cesaro as bad guys. You can kind of see both of their motivations that drove their actions or their attitude after the match. So storyline-wise, if that's where they're going, that works well. I really like the chemistry with Miz and Cesaro. I think it was actually really smart at this stage of Cesaro's comeback from his time off for injury to be against somebody like Miz, because Cesaro is still trying to find his lane as far as his character goes. There's been some mixed reviews for the sunglasses, the dapper suit. I think there's a little bit of almost like a kind of a 007 kind of vibe to the way that he carries himself with this quiet confidence. I like it, but he's still kind of finding himself, and I think playing off of Miz gives him a chance to explore where he wants to go with his persona. Not crazy about all the stuff the writers are throwing out there. I assume the writers, blame the writers by default, of course, in terms of like the movie impersonations that Miz is doing, and Cesaro's comebacks I think are kind of lame. So I'm not 100% on board with the dynamic, but in a general broad sense, both on the mic and the build-up, Steve, and then in the ring, I think Miz was a perfect opponent, and I was really hard on Miz a couple years ago. I thought he was just spinning his wheels and hard to watch, and this last year or so, his comeback, reinventing himself, I think he's become a great upper mid-card guy, really, really valuable to change up the pace and the feel and the personality of the whole roster. And I think Maurice has been a good addition. But Miz, I think, should earn some fans' respect who kind of plug their nose or don't want to. Because you're right, Steve. He was a really good opponent for Cesaro, both in terms of the actual mechanics and moves in the match, but also just personality-wise. So, yeah, I was a big fan of this match and the way they played off each other.
It was awesome, and again, shout out to Miz for working his ass off, and Cesaro as well. I really, really love this match, and thanks for picking me up there, Wade, because as Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, I've just got so many notes scribbled that, like you said, to your point, the referee was distracted, and then Miz gets the roll-up for the win, and it wasn't just a roll-up for the win. When they showed the other camera angle, he had a handful of tights.
Yep.
So I have great finish, great match, handful of tights, thank you. And at this point, I have KO All-Star. He's my MVP so far in the show. And I have written down that's going to be a tough act to follow. That's how much I thought of that match.
Yep, I didn't think it was as good as a prior match, but at the same time, it was absolutely perfect for its spot on the card, and it made the show overall better. And I don't know that you could have expected or really even wanted much more out of this match. I mean, there's no shame in coming up slightly short of what.
Well, I mean, just because of the history of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I mean, athletically, the sequences they put together. But again, these guys did a tremendous job in following that match, and it was by no means an average match. It was a very, very good match. Proud of both guys.
Absolutely. Yep,
And so, right when I have tough act to follow, here we go with Chris Jericho and Dean Ambrose. And the build-up package was tremendous. I love the Chris Jericho promos as well as Ambrose's. There was an Enzo update at that point. Everything was good. And Ambrose starts off on offense. And
Hey, Steve, so I don't forget, you mentioned Enzo. I want to say this too. Sammy and Kevin, I meant to mention this earlier, that was a difficult spot to put them in after that injury to come out and have a match. And I think they deserve sort of extra credit points for bringing the crowd back into the show when the crowd, I think, could easily have kind of withdrawn a little bit with concern for Enzo. So I wanted to throw that little compliment in there because you mentioned Enzo getting the update. That's a really tough spot to be in after an injury, to go out there and try to bring the crowd back into your match.
yeah, because the crowds are, man, they're focused on this guy got took out for a shoot, and you want to buy back in, and so it's a little bit difficult to sometimes get back into it. And, man, it leads me into all of this writing I have on this match between Chris Jericho and Dean Ambrose. And at the end of the day, it was a masterpiece that was, I'm sure, set up by Chris Jericho. Ambrose was completely on fire here. Those guys had great chemistry together. I love this match. It was a great match.
This was really well paced. And I think that they got in a lot of signature spots. And I think the dynamic of Jericho, again, it was similar to Owens and Sami in the sense that I think Jericho just does a masterful job gloating when he is getting the advantage so that you end up rooting more for the babyface. I thought late in the match when Jericho just got in Dean's ear and trash-talked him, little touches like that were good. And then Dean just ended up getting the better of Jericho until Jericho elbowed him and went for the lion's salt. And then Ambrose lifted his knees on that move. And then they kind of struggled, and Dean gave Jericho the dirty deeds and got the clean pin. I wouldn't say out of nowhere, but it certainly was kind of a comeback out of nowhere. And I like when there's a clean finish, but it isn't right after a couple near falls by the same guy. Like, I like that Jericho looked like he had the match in hand, and then boom, Dean just had that surge. And they did it a few other times during the match also, and there were kickouts. So yeah, Jericho is so good at putting matches together. Some people on Twitter were saying they thought Jericho was a half a step off on a few moves, and I just rewatched it again this afternoon, and I thought this was one of Jericho's sharper performances.
It's been one of his sharper performances in a long time, and he can still go, no doubt about it. But I mean, he was on fire this past Sunday night. And I've got all these notes written down, but there are just so many good sequences, and I love the way Chris builds his matches. The one great sequence is, let me see who's going for it. I can't read my own writing, but gets Ambrose in the walls. Terrific sequence, small package, into the enziguri kick, and come on, ref. And that's when Jericho gets in Ambrose's head. Ambrose goes crazy. Chris goes for the lion salt, knees up, into the dirty deeds for the win. Ambrose over in the middle with dirty deeds. Jericho throws a fit after the match. I have outstanding. Just classic Chris Jericho, tearing up papers and destroying stuff. I mean, the match, this was the match he lost. I thought maybe he would have lost at WrestleMania. He didn't, but he does the favors in the middle clean. And of course, you've got a guy that's going to go into the Hall of Fame whenever they decide to put him in the Hall of Fame. But to me, this was, and what was the time on this? Because these guys put in some time here, Wade.
They did, yeah. And I do want to note, Jericho did indicate on Twitter that he might be done now, because he said it was fun while it lasted or something like that. So This might have been he might be taking some time off this summer. They went just over 18 minutes, about 18 and a half minutes actually. So this was maybe the second longest match of the night at that time frame, and it filled that time well. I mean, it did.
It filled the time, and again, if you look at every single match on this card, the pacing was phenomenal. I've been, going overboard almost every single pay-per-view, or anytime I talk about the product that's in the ring today, I talk about rushing, no one's selling nothing, and moving too fast. This entire card was phenomenal as far as the pacing in the ring, selling. And, I mean, you can nitpick a little bit of it, but I thought, first of all, I thought the pay-per-view, in my opinion, was an A+, but the pace in the ring, the selling in the ring, the work done in the ring was off the charts, and I don't know what it was. Chicago helped out a little bit, but the guys and gals in the ring totally kicked ass. Everybody had a good showing.
Well, I'm with you on the in-ring work. I mean, I really am. I just think this was one of the best in-ring displays from start to finish when there was actually action going on in the ring. I mean, I'm totally with you. I thought everybody really rose to the occasion. And one of my favorite sequences was on the table. And I think they overuse the table. I mean, I just think once, do a table spot twice a month and make it count, not 4 times each show. That said, when Dean and Jericho were standing on the table, and Dean, I think, was going for dirty deeds, Jericho countered into a Walls attempt, but Dean fought it off, and Jericho just said, "Screw it," and he catapulted Dean. And catapult's kind of an old school move, so I was kind of like when I see that. And he catapulted Dean, and Dean just goes flying into the timekeeper's area off the announce table. And I don't remember seeing that spot before, and I thought that was really well done.
That was the whole match was really well done. So, man, a big shout out to Jericho, big shout out to Ambrose, whose stock continues to rise, but again, a premier performance. Someone's leading each match. Jericho led that match, and it was awesome. Great job. And we go to an AJ Styles interview, and I thought that was a good promo because I've been waiting to hear a little bit more AJ speaking, and he's not trying to go too crazy with what he's saying. Pretty simplistic, got that southern accent. And then we see
well, it's nice to not have him get interrupted. They've been scripting every time he starts talking mid-sentence. They interrupt him after the first sentence, and they actually just let him cut a basic, straight-up promo. And I mean, they didn't overstay his welcome, but it got the points across. And I mean, it was one thing, and I'll add this to the analysis of his match too. But he treated it like a sport. I mean, he looked like while he was being interviewed, he was actually thinking about the match, and his mind was on winning. It wasn't on cute lines or performing. And I think that actually serves a pro wrestling show better.
Yeah, and I don't want to jump into that match because that thing, the main event between AJ Styles and Roman Reigns, in my opinion, was phenomenal. No pun intended, but we're going to talk about Charlotte and Natalya right now. And the Charlotte music hit. I'll tell you what, shout out to Jim Johnston for recreating the Ric Flair theme and jazzing that thing up, because you talk about everybody loves to have good music. That music, when that song hits, it's phenomenal. And if you'll notice, when her music played, everybody in that building stood up, and there was electricity. Did you notice that?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I just love WWE music. I think NXT and WWE do a great job. NXT music I like more, and now we're starting to hear more of it on the WWE main roster. I don't know what it is about music that's created in NXT that just shines, if the wrestlers are more collaborative or what. I mean, it's all good, but I'm totally with you. The remix is great.
Anyway, the crowd was hot for this match. They stood up, and that building just the electricity started generating out, and then did a highlight package of Charlotte retaining by DQ against Natalya. So that leads more into the personal storyline. She's beat her once, but she's retaining by DQ. Charlotte is. And Natalya comes out to a new rendition of Bret Hart's music. Now, I haven't been watching Raw, so she's been using this music. It's still new to me. It's the first time I've heard it. I absolutely loved it. The hair stood up on the back of my neck because I've heard a version of that music so many times, and I wrestled the legendary Bret the Hitman Hart, who appeared right behind Natalya. And as Ric Flair was with Charlotte, and Ric Flair is one of the greatest of all time, man, there's Bret Hart, beating cancer and coming out. It was just amazing to see him looking as great as he did in Chicago, and the fans really responded to him, and you could tell, I think he was touched. I think he was glad to be there, and it was great to see Bret.
It was. The announcers said it's Bret's first public appearance since battling prostate cancer. Bret certainly was walking like he had been through something, but you could tell, as somebody who's been in front of the crowd before, he was glad to be back and in that moment. And I think that there was a feeling of, well, with what's going on with Rick and maybe with Brett and his health, maybe they won't get all that involved in the match and all that. But from a body language and yapping at each other from the ring apron and the facial expressions, one thing Brett's good at is taking what's going on in front of him and conveying that he's really absorbed in it. And so, anyway, not to get too far out of ourselves, but I thought Brett looked like he was very much enjoying what he was doing and that he got to be back out there. And I think the circumstances were right representing Natty like that.
I got a sense that as Charlotte really comes to the ring, the way she carries herself, just such like a champion, and she is a champion, but she just carries herself differently than anybody else out there.
Yes.
And it's amazing to see, and she's only a couple of years into her career, total respect for her. And they started the match off with a couple of high spots that were just a little gimmicky. I did like it was a sharpshooter attempt when Charlotte went to woo her, but then on a couple of the two spots, or it might have been the same spot where they took a tackle, when that person takes that tackle and they're down for about a 3 to 4 second period of time before that other person hits the rope, and that person just standing there in the center of the ring, I don't like those. So there's a couple of gimmicky spots where they did a little bit of showing off in the beginning, and these ladies are such premier workers. I thought they were better than that. Once they got past that and actually started working and getting some offense in, whether it was Natalya or Charlotte, both these women can work their ass off. It was a hell of a match. I just didn't like the beginning of it.
Yeah, and the thing that I've liked about the work that they've done, and I know Natty is I think just a great opponent for Charlotte at this stage of Charlotte's career, because Natalya is just such a ring general in that division, and they've been working really well together, and Charlotte has such respect for Natty, and I'm just so glad that Natalya made it to a pay-per-view title shot. I mean, she went a long stretch of being the most respected, best worker in that division, but the feeling was she didn't fit the diva mold to be the lead babyface challenger or champion on a pay-per-view. And then it was out in L.A. for a Raw a few weeks back when this match hadn't been booked yet that she got a visual fall on Charlotte. It turned out that it wasn't a tap out. The ref called a DQ, right. But the crowd popped like she had won by tap out, and they popped huge. And I had to I did a double take. Are they in L.A. or are they in Canada? And it was one of those great old style genuine pops where the crowd was just elated that somebody they liked, they thought won, and they didn't. And I was like, they have to do this one-on-one at the pay-per-view. And it was, I think because of that pop, they decided to go ahead and do the one-on-one match because I was told they hadn't locked that in yet. So this is a match that Natalya earned, not just through years of ring work. It's not just a gesture of, her seniority, she put her time in, or friendship with, or a chance to have Brett on the pay-per-view. She earned it because she got a crowd pop that every babyface on that roster should strive to get. So, and the other thing about the style of matches they've been doing, Steve, is it's so mat-based, but it's mat-based in a way where one sequence leads to another, and they're inventing, or maybe inventing's overstating it, but introducing, I think, to pro wrestling counters to certain types of mat holds. That normally you don't see. Usually somebody elbows or eye rakes to get out of something, and instead they actually go into different counters like you see in MMA sometimes. So there's a lot that I like about their style. And I don't know if – go ahead.
No, and just I'm just sort of reading through my notes as you're talking. I agree with what you're saying, but just some of my notes, I just have a great pace. And then finally at that one point in the match, Charlotte goes for the moonsault. She hits it, Natty kicks out. And then she locks in the figure four. And I love the way Natty says no to the figure four. There was no way she was going to give into that hold. And, of course, ends up reversing it, putting the pressure on Charlotte. Charlotte gets to ropes. How do we get to that finish there, Wade? Because Charlotte ends up with a sharpshooter on Natty. And then Charles Robinson calls for the bell. They ring the bell. I've got WTF, question mark, question mark, question mark. And that's the match. The finish is in, or the fix is in. What went on there? Okay. I don't know where the storyline is on this, Wade, because I haven't been watching Monday Night Raw.
There isn't.
Okay, I don't know what happened. I love the finish. I just don't know the reason behind it.
Yeah, and I didn't love the finish because I don't think there's a reason behind it other than we're rehashing an 18-and-a-half-year-old finish that's been run into the ground by others in WCW and WWF. This came across as, hey, Brett's here. Natalya's here. Let's just have fun by, let's entertain ourselves with another one of these finishes.
Well, that's why I was able to. enjoy it for what it was, because I like both women. I wanted Charlotte to retain, but by the same token, it would have been nice to see Natty win, but it's not time to take the belt off Charlotte. So you had to get out of the match somehow, and don't beat Natty right here yet. And so I'm willing to hang on to see what the storyline comes on Monday Night Raw tonight. Of course, the podcast drops after Monday Night Raw, so I don't know what's coming on the backside of this story, so I'm intrigued. But it caught me so off guard. That's why I enjoyed it. But I can appreciate the points that you're making.
Yeah, and if there's a storyline here that I think there's a chance, and again, people will know whether we're right on this one or not, but I think they might just mention it in passing and it's not a big storyline. For the sake of Charles Robinson, I hope it doesn't turn into a big storyline, because usually it's a little bit of a death knell for a referee to go heel. And because it's like, that just undercuts their credibility going forward and they become a character.
And Charles Robinson is such an outstanding referee.
He is. He's just fantastic. And I mean, he's a senior guy, he's a senior member of that staff, and it's just fantastic. And I get, they could say, well, he got a little wrapped up because he's, known for being a huge Ric Flair fan. His nickname's Lil Nate. They can explain it away and then just let him get back to doing what he does quietly and anonymously afterwards. But I wasn't a fan of it. I'm just not a fan of reenacting that finish, period. But I think it just makes a mockery out of the prestige of the world title. Obviously, if the idea here is that this is a way to get Natalya a rematch at Extreme Rules, and there's going to be some stipulation, submissions only, but there must be a real tap out or something. I mean, I'll be better off. I'll be better with a finish than I was. It just came across to me as a playground finish for the bookers, just wanting to, get their jollies on doing something with Brett and Flair, paying tribute to something that I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot about a year and a half from now when we get to the 20th anniversary, Steve, since WWE Network, I understand, will allow people to rewatch this finish many times if they so choose. So we're approaching the 20th anniversary here of that huge night. But the match itself was really good. Charlotte, like what I said about Kevin Owens and Sami earlier, I would not have had a problem with Charlotte beating Natty clean. But if they do want to do a one-on-one follow-up, it is hard to justify giving a rematch, although they did it later, which we'll get to in the main event. It's hard to justify giving a rematch to a challenger who loses clean. But you're right, they don't want to take the belt off of Charlotte yet. I also agree with you, that would be wrong. So sometimes how I feel at the time of a finish gets changed as you kind of see where they're going, and if they're
I might change my mind if when I see the logic coming out on the backside, because if it's BS, then it's going to be BS. But at the end of the day, what happened? Britt comes in, he decks Flair and puts a sharpshooter on him. Natty takes down Charlotte, puts the sharpshooter on her. Okay, the good guys are in a dominant position, applying their finishes to the heels. The crowd goes crazy. Okay, it was okay. And then they release the holds, and then Charlotte and Rick leave with her title, and we're off to the races to see what the psychology, what the reason was, what happens to Charles Robinson. Was it indeed, to your point, because he's such a Flair fan, Little Nate is his nickname, is this a heel turn for him? Where do they go? I like the finish because it caught me off guard. You didn't like it because you want to see the reasoning, and once they give us the reasoning, I might crap all over it. But right now I'm digging it.
Very good.
Hey, it ain't nothing better than working for yourself and being your own boss. So if you have a great idea just waiting to make money, let Weebly.com help you get it off the ground. Weebly.com/Austin will help you create your own professional quality website, blog, or online store, and make you look like a dang genius web designer and technology guru in the process. Weebly has a wide variety of professional design, mobile-friendly themes to choose from. You just pick a theme, and then you drag and drop your content to build and publish your website. It really is that easy, and it really is that fast. You can update and change your site anytime on any device. You can do it right from your phone. That's the best part. Weebly has an app that lets you update your site, add more content, and check your online store orders right from your phone no matter where you are. Genius. It's instant access so you can take care of business anytime you need to. You don't have to be at a desk or in an office to work on your website. Creating a fantastic website should not get in the way of your dreams. Join the over 30 million people who are already dreaming big with Weebly. Get started today for free at Weebly.com/Austin. That's Weebly.com/Austin. Let me spell it out for you. WEEBLY.com/Austin. All right. So Vincent Kennedy McMahon comes to the ring. And I tell you what, a CM Punk chant erupts out of that building and damn near blew the roof off the place. And then it came again, and Vince just eggs them on. So,
well, how'd you think Vince handled it? Because you've been in positions of wanting to control a crowd that wasn't necessarily, responding the way you wanted. Although you didn't usually run into this type of issue, Steve. You usually had the crowd the way you wanted them. But either being in a situation yourself or seeing other wrestlers in that situation, did Vince give wrestlers in the back a lesson, or do you think he got a little flustered? How would you grade his response?
Oh, I graded with an A. I thought come on, bring it. Is that all you got? And I thought it worked perfectly. And but anyway, the crowd Chicago loves CM Punk. CM Punk lives in Chicago, so.
And it's the first time Vince has been in front of a Chicago crowd, I believe, since Punk left.
Right.
So it kind of reinvigorated the chant because they're like they never got to chant it at Vince before.
So anyway, he's talking about Shane or Steph running Raw. He brings Steph to the ring. He says, "Isn't she beautiful?" And of course, Stephanie goes, "Oh, Dad." And so anyway, here comes Shane, and it's just basically a back and forth promo about who's going to run Raw, and for all the various reasons. But again, everybody was worked to perfection in this segment. As you said, probably it went on too long. I think like a few minutes too long. I thought the segment, was good. But again, Stephanie crushes me. Her character is so off the charts. She's so good. I think she should be in Hollywood.
When Shane patted himself on the back for popping the WrestleMania buy rate, which I wonder how all the guys who are on the road full time feel about that. He's like, yeah, there was a little bump in the network subscriptions, and that was right after I got added to the card. And Stephanie's line, about your humility, Shane.
Yeah.
I mean, her delivery and it was so opportunistic. For me, it was a babyface line because I thought Shane was going on and patting himself on the back. And I know the crowd loves him, but I was just kind of going, okay, this is a little much. And so I actually kind of applauded Stephanie at that point. And how could she resist?
Well, she jumped in there, and that was totally ad-libbed. You see that was just offhand, and she just. The moment was there, she took it. But, you got three in there that are aces on a stick. Stephanie and the old man in particular, and of course, Shane was there. But it pat himself on the back a little bit, but, the crowd was with him. And then we'll see what happens with this, because what do you think about them making the co-GM thing with both of them running the show, Wade?
Well, Todd Martin called it on one of my VIP Torch audio shows exactly that this is exactly what would happen, that Vince is, putting Shane in charge and he likes pushing the buttons of his kids. That part of the Vince character isn't so much playing favorites as much as it is liking, and it's kind of a reflection of, what he admits. He said his favorite thing in the world is shoving somebody into a swimming pool who doesn't suspect it. And so it makes sense that his on-air character would take great joy in seeing Stephanie and Shane have to coexist and deal with each other. So, in that sense, I didn't call this. I thought he would, take sides and there'd be a big protest by Steph, or he'd give one of them one show and one the other show, or one the first half of the show and the other one the second half. But to put them both in charge and have them, like a Supreme Court, splitting their vote without a tiebreaker is essentially where they are now. I mean, it's going to make for some entertaining TV if you're in favor of the show being very McMahon-centric. And the McMahon family has been protected and featured as big stars. Ratings are down in a tough spot. And usually when ratings are down, Vince tries to find a way to incorporate him or his family into storylines. And the crowd reacted to them like they were big deals. We'll see. I mean, I if it's a new era, I mean, part of me, that video at the beginning, I'm not super confident that making the show even more about the McMahons is going to coincide with the idea of this being a new era if there's a genuine, sincere attempt to kind of give off that impression. But, Shane and Steph are going to be fun, and I thought the as we'll get to, the closing angle in the dynamic between them, I think set the stage for an interesting Monday night and beyond.
Okay, they went to a package, and it showed Zig getting a win over Baron Corbin. It showed Kalisto getting a win over Ryback. Kalisto remains the U.S. champ. Was he the U.S. champ going into that?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So anyway, just that was basically touched upon. Your thoughts thoughts on Zig going over Corbin?
Yeah. Corbin's first WWE loss. I wasn't expecting it to be on the pre-show, and so I tuned in to the pre-show right when this match was over. So I had to go back and rewatch it. So I already knew the finish going in. I don't know if that affects my analysis at all. It probably does, because I would have been surprised. I totally expected Corbin to continue to go on a winning streak, easily dispatch Ziggler, who's, the good worker who does jobs. That's kind of his designated role, for better or for worse, deserved or not. And Corbin seemed like he was on the fast track. I don't think Corbin was hurt a lot because of the way he lost. It was, that cocky heel who gets a surprise roll-up out of nowhere. It felt like a fluke, almost, a Horowitz wins or a 1-2-3 Kid wins moment, in a sense, in terms of, wow, although Corbin hadn't been established enough and Ziggler's not quite at the Horowitz level, but it had that fluke feel. So I don't think Corbin was hurt a lot. If it sets up a rematch and Corbin destroys Ziggler, I think he can get his heat back. Part of me is a little relieved the next day, talking with you about this, because I'm not a big fan of winning streaks, because I think people get preoccupied with that if someone's never lost, and it becomes more of the story than it should be. So at least that's off the table now, and then Baron can respond. But I just love Corbin's mannerisms. Steve, he's such a believable heel in the way that he carries himself, and his facial expressions, I think, are at the very top tier in this industry for a young guy. So I hope his ring work catches up.
His ring work needs to catch up. I haven't seen enough of him, but his ring, for you to heap that much praise on him, speaks volumes, but I haven't seen enough of his work, and I need to see that next gear, if he has that next gear, which that's what he's going to need, along with everything else, as he continues his rise and they continue his push.
As Enzo would say, though, you can't teach that. I think the part that Corbin has down is something that comes naturally to him. I really think that the persona, it's a very, very believable, cocky jock, I'm better than you people in the crowd persona. And I really do hope that his work catches up, because I think he's a guy who, a year or two down the line, people will pay to see Brock Lesnar to take to Suplex City. But he has a long way to go before he belongs or deserves that spot. Okay,
let's talk about Kalisto over Ryback real quickly here for the U.S. Championship. Man, where are they going with this? What does the U.S. Championship mean at this point?
It means less than when Cena was doing the U.S. Title Open Challenge, but right. I don't have a big problem with it. Ryback is in a weird spot. He's out there doing sort of shoot media interviews, complaining about his push and how bummed out he was at WrestleMania, and then they worked that into the storyline. I think Kalisto is a good guy to have on the roster. He's got such energy and acrobatic moves. I was at a house show a few months back, surrounded by kids who were absolutely going bonkers for him. I think you absolutely need in a WWE formula somebody like Kalisto, and I think Kalisto going over Ryback is something, especially for the kids, that just made their night. And Ryback's a good foil for that. I don't think Ryback's got hopes to be a top-tier main event opponent for anybody right now, based on how he's being treated in this U.S. title feud. But I got to give him credit. It seems like an awkward matchup style-wise, and he kept up with Kalisto, and I thought he sold well. I thought he was kind of back to the big bully character that you like to see get knocked down. And so I think it worked for the purpose it had on that show.
Okay, I didn't see the match, but that leads us to our illustrious main event. The champion, Roman Reigns, versus the challenger, AJ Styles, the phenomenal one is what he calls himself. And, showed the package, which was an outstanding package. Doc Gallows, Carl Anderson, some of the stuff that Roman's done, AJ, and they rang the bell, and this match started. Take it away, Wade. I'm going to jump in after you start talking about this match and give me your thoughts. I don't want to taint you in any direction. Your thoughts.
I just rewatched it again this afternoon. I will say at the beginning that I thought that Roman. I want to start with a compliment for Roman. I thought that he was in there against a world-class athlete who's still in his prime in AJ Styles, and he looked like he belonged in that ring. And I think that's really important. The problem with Roman. There's been a number of problems with Roman. It's tough when you get the spotlight and the top spot that he's had, and I've been hard on him because I think he's miscast. I think he would be one of the great heels of this generation if they cast him as that, and I think they're still finding their way with him. But as far as this match on this night went in front of this crowd that was booing him out of the building, I thought Roman kept up with AJ, and I think it's one of those matches, and he's had a few of them. Now, where I think in the end the fans had to give him some begrudging respect for keeping up with AJ. People, I think on the flip side, there's people who wondered, will AJ look like he belongs in the ring with somebody like Roman, who's the prototype top-tier superstar in terms of he looks the part? Will he look like somebody who's a little out of place and belongs outside of WWE as a big fish in a smaller pond? He looked like he belonged. He's not Daniel Bryan. It's not fair to hold him to that comparison because Daniel Bryan's personality was so special and he got to go on this journey working his way up the card, and AJ was thrust into the top tier at the Rumble and since. That said, AJ, like Daniel Bryan, absolutely brings that sports athlete fighting to win attitude and demeanor, and he looks super tough. That's something he's even better than Daniel Bryan at, is he looks, when he hits his moves and when he hits his spots, it looks like they hurt. And it looks like he's trying to win, not just perform. And I thought this was a showcase for that. If we strip away from the commentary, because it's not necessarily pro or con, but the convoluted finishes and Shane and Steph getting involved and extending the match and all that, just from a pure execution standpoint, I thought that they both did a tremendous job. I don't want to say phenomenal because we overuse that word now. And I thought Reigns played really well off of AJ, having the size advantage and thinking that he was better than AJ and that he should be winning this match. I think AJ's kickouts and Roman's facial expressions bordered on heelish, but weren't so overtly heelish, and I just think it fit the moment. There was one point where Reigns gave Styles a powerbomb and got a 2 count, and he just sat there and looked disgusted. Like that should have been enough. And then he stood, shook his head, and he just waited for Styles to stand up. And then that's where Styles gave him an enziguri mid-flight when he was going for a Superman punch. So, Steve, I know you took notes, and this is a match that had probably, I bet, like 12 sequences that you could pinpoint. Again, that Reigns carried his end. AJ was these are spots AJ's done before against bigger guys, and I'm sure he brought a lot to orchestrating this match too. There's probably a dozen sequences in here that just played to both AJ and Roman and made them shine really well.
Man, I'll go through a couple of my notes just that I wrote down. Start off with the Roman sucks chant. AJ Styles chant comes out. Okay, with the start, great psychology. AJ working the leg kicks. Great pace, great work. Roman hits a powerbomb early on. There's a sense of urgency with that cover. A sense of urgency is something that has kind of been missing with Roman Reigns for a long time.
Yep.
So then Reigns goes for a big move. Styles with the head kick. You just talked about that. Great viciousness by Styles. And I have written down right here, this is what I've been waiting for from AJ Styles. This is how you get over. To anybody that's back there at NXT or anybody in a WWE locker room, if you want to learn how to get over, you watch AJ Styles in this match. Man, this kid, like I said, great submission sequence by Styles, Roman to the ropes. The Jesus Christ move of the night was when Styles jumped off that top rope, delivered the big, what was it, like a elbow or a fist to Roman Reigns through the announce desk. What is that?
The phenomenal forearm.
The phenomenal forearm.
That's his finisher. That's his signature spot.
I have amazing, and I have it underlined 5 times, and it was just AJ Styles. I'll tell you what, I've been waiting. I didn't know what this kid was going to bring to the big stage. Just absolutely 5-star, tremendous job. What a performance by AJ Styles. Man, he brought his, one cuss word, he got his in. He was vicious. There was a sense of urgency. And to your point a while ago, it looked like a sport. Yep. Great fire by AJ Styles. I've been waiting since this kid walked in there, and I've been wanting him to showcase himself because I know he's a badass worker. He's put in his time all over the world, specifically in Japan. The kid can flat out work his ass off. And now, Roman Reigns. Man, I'll take my hat off to you. You went in there with a world-class talent. AJ carried the match, but Roman Reigns was there every step of the way. I watched this match, and I was so fascinated and so intrigued by it. Roman was never shaken by any of the crowd's chants. He stood with what, whether they cheered or booed or whatever. His resolve, the way he sold everything, the way he was much stronger at the beginning, the way AJ had to work him down, get him down to his strength level, drain some gas out of his tank. Phenomenal job by Roman Reigns. And no pun intended, but this was, and he's had a couple of really good matches. To me, I think this is the best match I've ever seen Roman Reigns in, and AJ Styles jumped off the chart at me, and he's definitely a superstar, and I hope the WWE has huge plans for this guy, because that's how much I enjoyed this match. That's how much I enjoyed the heart and soul that each guy put into this. But when you watch a guy like AJ Styles, I'll let you jump in on this a little bit, but like you said, when I see someone lay in their offense like he did, and that's what pro wrestling is.
Well, yes. No, I wanted to ask you, do you think Roman Reigns, to your eye, worked a heel style, a babyface versus babyface type style? What vibe did you get from what Reigns was giving off?
I got it. He worked it right down the middle. And so did AJ. They just brought it, and the crowd was going to be the deciding factor. And so whether you boo him or whether you cheer him, when you go out and have a performance like that, the chips are going to fall where they may, a couple of as far as what the crowd wants to do with you. But Roman Reigns keeps working like this, he's going to earn respect. Or if he displays that arrogance, I know he could have a great heel run. I said on a podcast a week or two ago, he was out there cutting a promo, and it wasn't the best promo in the world, but there's starting to be some electricity here and there, and I think he's starting to put the pieces together. He hasn't put them all yet there from a total standpoint. You know, there's been some booking clusterfucks, etc., involving this kid, but he put it all on the line. It was a big stage for this kid, and he delivered with a 5-star performance. Roman Reigns could not have done anything any better than he did. It was absolutely premier.
I would like to, and I probably will do this, go back and watch Reigns Daniel Bryan and see how far Reigns has come, and also just compare, two guys like Styles and Bryan, and how they did against him. Because when you say it might be the best Reigns match to date, certainly the Daniel Bryan match comes to mind. But the fact that we're even having that conversation is a real testament to what they did on Sunday night. One little detail that I've seen, because Shane comes out, and says, we're not going to have count out.
Well, yeah. Well, hold on, let me cut you off. Let's get to that. So anyway, He hits that awesome, phenomenal forearm off the top rope through the announce table. AJ's trying to get the champion back into the ring so he can beat him and take the belt.
That's what I was about to bring up. Yep.
He's counted out. The match is over. So I'm sitting there thinking, oh, are you kidding me? Yep. If that's the finish, that's the finish. And I still thought both guys looked like megastars as far as performance goes. So go ahead from there, Wade.
Well, you touched on it, but I want to underline and highlight it. AJ... Back when they did this finish, was it SummerSlam 92 or 3, whatever it was, where Lex Luger won by countout over Yokozuna, and it was sort of like the plan was, because they had already bought the confetti, for Lex winning the title. But it was, my understanding is they changed their mind pretty late and decided to go with Lex winning by countout. This was, I think, the Meadowlands, and I was in the building for that, and so I should remember what building, but it was Meadowlands or MSG, and they drop all the confetti and Lex is celebrating. And the crowd is cheering, and I'm like, why is Lex celebrating? He should know the rules. It's a count-out win. He doesn't win the championship. Right. And I thought he looked a little foolish doing that. He was instructed to do it, and the confetti dropped. AJ knew better. AJ was a high IQ babyface. In other words, he wasn't this guy. What? I won by countout. I should be happy. Right. No, you can't be. I love that he tried to get Roman into the ring, and Roman was dead weight. And AJ either had to settle for a double count-out, or a count-out win. And he went for the count-out win, but he wasn't happy about it because he tried so hard to get Roman into the ring. I thought that was a small touch, but an absolutely important touch because it played into it. So I really liked it. I just that spot sometimes is they make the babyface look foolish, like they don't know the rules, and they didn't do that here, and I love that.
So then who came out to continue the match?
Shane comes out and says it's not how we do things around here anymore, and made it a no count-out match.
So no count-out. So anyway, boy, Styles fires up.
Yep.
He hits that badass Pele kick, 450 splash, Roman with the knees up, a kick out by Styles. Then Styles goes off the top. Roman punches him to the midsection, I thought, but called it a groin shot, and then ends up with a DQ. I thought, again, super fire by AJ Styles, great punch by Roman Reigns. I was a little gimmicky on that. I'll let that one pass, but I was a little concerned about the DQ finish on the groin shot. Your thoughts on that?
Well, this is when I asked you if you thought it was being a in-between or a face or a heel. I was kind of wondering on this spot if we weren't supposed to wonder if Roman hit him low on purpose in order to, get an unfair advantage. And because his body language and facial expression afterwards was somewhat suggestive of maybe he did that on purpose and it was a low blow on purpose. But if that's the case, I almost think Shane and Stephanie should have been reversed in terms of who came out first to restart the match. But that's not a huge deal. That's neither here nor there. But I thought that it was suitable in the sense that you don't want Roman to intentionally get disqualified. So there's some doubt. Did Roman do that on purpose or by accident? Whereas if it's a different kind of DQ, it would lean too much it would point too much to Roman being a heel. Because usually when you get DQ'd, it's you do something intentionally wrong. So I guess the low blow was meant to seem inadvertent. But I think for the people who like AJ and don't like Roman, they gave those fans a little bit of an out going, yeah, Roman knew he couldn't hang with AJ, so he had to hit a low blow. And in a way, that protects AJ a little. Because AJ, I don't know if he'll bring it up or not, but it would be fair for AJ to go, yeah, I wonder if Reigns wasn't trying to get out of the match with that low blow because he knew I'd win. Because in the end, Reigns was going over. So in a sense, it gave a little bit of an out for AJ too.
I thought it was an inadvertent and it looked more like a beltline shot just by placement. I didn't rewind it, so I didn't. It was obviously intended by the booking to be an intended or a groin shot, but it looked more beltline to me. But nonetheless, then Stephanie comes out after the match is DQ'd, comes out and says, "Hey, no DQ," so the match is restarted. So all of a sudden there's some great action. Superman punch as Styles comes off the rope, setting up for the big Superman punch, waits for the spear, and here's Gallo and Anderson to the ring and just start putting the wood to Roman Reigns. The big boot of doom. Roman is in the middle of the ring. Styles climbs up. He's going to go for the big punch. And as a matter of fact, I guess he hits the big punch. I just have it was a cover, and this was such a great move, and it wasn't a kick out. There's been so many kick outs all night long in precarious situations. The world title's at stake. Roman Reigns with the foot on the ropes.
Yep.
And that's a little thing, but you know what? The foot on the ropes, that's a veteran move. And it just, I love the foot on the ropes rather than a kick out. And it was awesomely timed and perfectly executed by both men to be within proximity to get that leg there. And Roman was perfect with the timing.
Steve, when you put a match together, is a foot on the rope generally a heel move and kicking out is more of a babyface move to avoid a near fall, or is it a neutral?
No, traditionally, I think as Flair would always use that foot on the rope.
Yeah.
So it's a traditional standpoint, I'd say more heel thing to do. But from survival mechanism, neutral, and I think that's what this was. It was, man, this kid he'd been going through everything. Gallows and Anderson just came and beat the snot out of him. He got hit with that big punch, and boy, it was just reactionary, ring presence, the move of a guy who's young in the business, but a veteran move to save his ass and stop the 3 count because the title's on the line. A premier false finish.
Yeah, and it protected Anderson and Gallows' boot of doom,
Yes.
where you don't want Reigns kicking out of a move. I mean, Reigns has been through a grueling match. They're deep into it at this point. You don't want him kicking out of that move. You want him to benefit from the good fortune of just happening to be near that bottom rope. So booking-wise, that was absolutely smart to do it that way.
So then what happens, man, all the guys, it turns into a melee down there because the Usos jump on the guys from, I call them Bullet Club guys, jumps on Gallows and Anderson. So there's a melee. And then Reigns throws Styles onto the guy. Styles is going to the top rope. Reigns just launches him, and Styles lands on everybody.
Yep.
And then, if you didn't think it was going to get any more exciting than that, here comes big-ass Roman Reigns soaring over the top rope onto everyone. And it was spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, Hernandez would do moves like that in TNA, as a guy bigger than you think doing a move that you don't think somebody his size can do, and it was super exciting. I mean, it really was, and it was appropriate for the circumstance to have the Usos come out and have Reigns' back, but I do think they meticulously booked it in the sense that the announcers even said that they didn't know if Styles knew that when Styles went for the pin on Reigns when Reigns had his foot on the rope, the announcers pointed that out. I don't know if Styles knows what just happened. So Styles still has this plausible deniability, more than plausible. I mean, a viable deniability that he called for them to come out or that he knew what happened. But Anderson and Gallows, from a narrative standpoint, can walk out and go, hey, AJ, we had your back. Reigns hit you low. He was getting dirty, and we're there to make sure that he didn't win because of that. So everybody sort of can stand in their spot and make their case for why they did what they did.
Okay, so good points. Roman goes over the top rope. He crashes all over everybody. Well, Styles is up on the barricade, and with a smashing forearm off the barricade, which is spectacular, rolls Reigns in, 450 splash off the top rope, 1-2 kick out. Perfect.
Believable near fall.
Absolute.
That was believable.
Perfect timing from the kid, Roman Reigns. A great move. I mean, again, AJ, you look like a superstar the entire match. So goes for the Styles clash. AJ does, but he gets backdropped over the top rope. Styles, he jumps over, he rebounds. Styles. Okay, he goes for basically a Styles splash, but he lands on his feet, keeps going, ducks something, or comes with 2 clotheslines. But anyway, he gets speared in the middle of the ring. Cover. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Styles dropped Reigns throat first over the top rope, and then he went for the phenomenal form, his finisher, that they've done a good job getting over on TV. Reigns ducked that, and then bang, just speared him. It was kind of like Ambrose pinning Jericho in the sense that it was just bang, bang, it's over. But that was they protected Styles' finisher. They protected Anderson and Gallows' finisher a minute earlier, but then they put over Reigns' finisher. And it was a really well-timed sequence. I mean, there's a reason to question the last year or so whether Reigns was ready for this spot. And you can also say, hey, he has great matches against world-class opponents. How many can they line up for him? Fair enough. But give him credit on this night. He absolutely belonged in the ring with a guy like AJ, who's got more than a dozen years of being one of the top 3, 4, 5 workers in this world. And this finish was perfectly well timed. And you said it, Steve. I think this is a match, another one where you put a notch on Reigns' belt, going, he's earned some respect. Now, you want him to have a good match against somebody who's not at AJ's level,
right?
But the first step is be able to have this good of. It's like they say about sports teams: the first step is winning at home, and then you start worrying about having a winning record on the road. This is kind of like a home win in the sense, and I don't mean that like Chicago's his hometown, but he had the advantage of being in the ring with somebody like Styles, and he delivered, and he absolutely should get credit for that on the journey to trying to earn. That he can carry this top spot even against guys who aren't at AJ's level.
I loved this was the kind of match that Reigns needed at WrestleMania. That wasn't what he got at WrestleMania, but this match that he got, and then throwing all the bells and whistles with Gallows and Anderson coming down, Usos, the melee, 2 changes by Shane and Steph to extend the match. And the kid's got to fight for it. And so finally he hits that spear. It's a 1-2-3. Roman Reigns earned the victory. AJ Styles goes down in defeat, but he goes way, way up on what the WWE thinks about this kid, if they had any doubts about him to begin with, or maybe thought he was undersized, or wasn't this, wasn't that. Man, I tell you what, if this kid is on a pay-per-view, I want to watch him work, and especially if he's going to work with somebody high profile and in a money spot, because this kid is way too good to be anywhere else but at the top.
That's a huge endorsement, and I hope everybody in WWE, top management, Vince McMahon especially, sees it that way. I think he has to. It was the right city and the right circumstance for AJ to shine. If Reigns, and the other thing too, Reigns should want somebody like AJ as his opponent. Obviously, there's no reason for Reigns to sandbag AJ or try to make him look bad out of resentment for the pop AJ got. That would be crummy for him and bad.
He's not that guy.
He's not that guy, and that did not happen here. Reigns had, for a certain part of the fan base as world champion, a certain amount of credibility that he brought, and he gave AJ a lot too. And so I think they both actually move up because in the eyes of the fan base who they hadn't sold themselves to yet. And I think AJ was still proving himself to a part of the WWE fan base. This and Vince McMahon perhaps himself. And you're right, Steve. This match did it, and I hope this gives AJ some confidence, because AJ's better on the microphone when he's comfortable with his standing and when he feels like he's an alpha on the roster. And I think it's come across in his promos that he was being scrutinized and watched carefully, and everyone was waiting for him to make a mistake. And I think that this allowed him to showcase what he can do for 25 minutes, so that next time he's on the mic, there'll be a little more of a confident swagger to what he does. And I actually think this could build in a good way for AJ.
Well, I think just turn this guy loose and just let him be AJ Styles, whoever and whatever that is, because I've seen some of his scripted stuff that didn't blow me away. Again, some of the other stuff the show went in the beginning of the program I liked, but I love this guy, and I'm so happy to see him have such an outstanding performance on a stage with the world champion, and very happy for Roman Reigns for delivering. A lot of pressure on that kid. And sandbagging isn't in this guy's DNA. He wants to be the best he can be. And by his booking, by the fact that he's a good-looking kid, some people thought he was pushed too fast, too soon. He got some resentment. But I thought he played this thing, the bigger, stronger guy in the beginning. Tremendous psychology by AJ Styles working those leg kicks. There wasn't anything in this match that I could correct or say that could have been better, because it was all top-notch stuff. Great story. Loved all the false finishes. Loved the finish. And AJ Styles is a huge star. I hope everybody realizes that. And Roman Reigns went to bat. The bases were loaded, and he hit a grand slam. End of story. So we both loved the match. Vince, Shane, and Stephanie are there at the end of the show, and they're talking about giving AJ Styles a rematch because the match was off the charts and he has earned it. So it's going to be at the Extreme Rules pay-per-view, and according to Shane, it's going to be an Extreme Rules match. You're a guy that grades matches, Wade, so grade that match for me.
Reigns and AJ?
Yes.
Yeah, 4 stars.
Out of how many?
Out of 5.
Oh, dude, I'm going 5.
I've given 5. I've given about 4 matches in 25 years 5 stars.
Okay, I'm giving it 5. The match was that good.
You think it was? Say that again.
That match was one of the best matches in the last couple years.
Wow. Okay.
That's my opinion, but you're entitled to yours, and that's why we're talking on this podcast.
4 stars is a compliment. I mean, I mean, 4.5 is rare. 5 is every 5 years. So. That's but I will say too. I mean, I think if you strip away the 2 restarts, and I get why they're done booking wise, but the star rating, it's so subjective, and
it's totally subjective. The entertainment factor in this match, the work done in this match by both guys, and AJ carried it, and Roman delivered. Then the 2 the restarts, I bought into dude. I wrestled for 14 years.
Yeah.
When I get a chance to step back and be a fan and watch 2 guys go out there and knock it out of the park, that's fun for me. I get a chance to be a fan again. So anyway, let's talk about Extreme Rules. Is this a good call, bad call? Because now with all these toys coming into play, is that in AJ's wheelhouse, or is it in Roman's wheelhouse, or will it turn into a cluster after they just had a classic?
See, I don't even like the term toys for weapons because I think it demeans what the guys are doing.
Well, that's because I'm a veteran, and that's what we refer to them as. When we're in the back plotting.
You know what? And you're right. I don't mind in a certain backstage context. I have an issue with JBL calling them toys on the air. The announcers.
Oh yeah.
I think, but you're right. In the context we're talking, absolutely, and that's
in the context that goes on backstage. I mean, if you're in a finish room, every other word is a 4-letter word, and most of them are f-bombs. I mean, that's just the way you go over a finish. So the way we talk backstage and refer to things, it's just a toy. So but it's a weapon of destruction. But
yes,
let's stop beleaguering that point. Smart, not smart, booking an Extreme Rules match for these 2 guys.
It's the next pay-per-view, so they're stuck. I mean, when you have a show called Extreme Rules and you have a World Championship match on that card, you got to have Extreme Rules for that championship match. At least that's how they feel. So I'm assuming we're going to get stipulations on this match of no rules or whatever. I don't think they announced actually what the stip would be for Extreme Rules, but I mean I'd rather just see a straight up match.
Me too. I would rather say if it's an Extreme Rules pay-per-view, okay, well everybody else is going to be Extreme Rules, but because the first one was such a classic, we want to see what you guys can do, whether it's no DQ from the get-go or just straight up regular rules. There's going to be a match, a scientific or whatever it turns into, but it's just going to be a pure straight up wrestling match. The best man wins. That's what I'd like to see.
Or give me 2 out of 3 falls if you got to attach.
Hey, dude, 2 out of 3 would be awesome because how many times you get a chance to see that anymore? But I'd like to see these guys because AJ's so good at what he does, because Roman did everything he did so great that night. I just love to see these guys in another classic with nothing but the tools at hand. That's within the confines of a 20x20. If an announce table comes into play, that's cool, but leave the toys or weapons out of it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I wish Extreme Rules there were. I just wish there wasn't a big.
You make the business so much harder when you do that, Wade, and when you're working in a no-color zone right now because of all the reasons, the PC, the medical reasons. It's just tough, and if the business, Jesus, the business has been exposed enough. But man, when you bring in all the bells and whistles and you can't do certain things, that really takes a lot of the oomph out of it because it ain't what it should be. That being said, we've talked for a pretty good while. I want to give you a chance to drop some information and plug your shows and talk about what you do, your Twitter account, and everything else.
Follow me at The Wade Keller. Follow our brand at PW Torch. And I host a podcast that's on 6 days a week, and I'm on 2 of those days, on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And you can find us at pwtorchlivecast.com. It's a live show, Monday through Saturday, different times each of those days. Check it out. Full details at pwtorchlivecast.com. Our news site is pwtorch.com, and you can download our free app. pwtorch.com is what you want to search on your Android or iPhone. Download our app, search PW Torch, and then MMAtorch.com. We cover UFC too, Steve. Full-time coverage, full news analysis at MMAtorch.com. We also have an MMA Torch app. And I'll throw out there, if anybody wants to become a VIP member, we have a 25-plus years of archives of insider coverage and newsletters, 75 exclusive audio shows per month. Just use the coupon code Austin5, number 5, and we'll give you $5 off any VIP subscription. The address for that is pwtorch.com/govip. That's Austin5 coupon code at pwtorch.com/govip.
Hey, Wade, it was good talking to you. I want to give a shout out to all the guys and gals that wrestled on the show. I thought this was the best pay-per-view I've seen in the last couple of years. Swig a beer to the booking committee or whatever the hell you want to call it. The show was off the charts good. It's the best pay-per-view I've seen in a long time. If you guys keep doing this type of thing, I think business will pick up. My thoughts go out to Enzo. Hope he recovers from that concussion. And Gotch, easy on the horsepower when you're throwing a guy out of the ring, and don't touch a guy when he's hurt. Wade, anything else before we ride off into the sunset?
No, Steve, it's always a pleasure.
All right, everybody, give me the go-home cue. It's time to wrap up this podcast and ride off in the sunset. But before I do, I want to give you guys something to watch. If you get on the WWE Network, watch the WWE Payback pay-per-view. Pay-per-view is, you don't pay for them anymore, but it's on the WWE Network, so I don't know what you call them anymore. But watch the event Payback by WWE. I thought all the guys and the girls were hitting on all cylinders on this event. You just heard what I thought about all of the matches. Shout out to everybody for kicking ass. Kevin Owens, you was probably the all-star of the night, but holy smokes, AJ Styles, that performance you turned in with Roman Reigns. And Roman Reigns, first of all, respect to everybody on that card. You worked your asses off, but that damn main event was a son of a gun, and that was a badass match. Again, I'm just super excited for AJ Styles to bust loose and hit a grand slam. The bases were loaded, and he knocked that damn ball over the fence with Roman Reigns. Swig a beer to Roman Reigns as well for doing his end of that match. I enjoyed the show, and my thoughts go out to Enzo Amore. I know he's recovering from a concussion. Hang in there, man. You're tough as nails. And sorry to see you go down like that. It was a scary moment. I've been there a few times, and I wish you well. Hey, gang, all them badass shirts you saw me wear on Broken Skull Challenge, Season 3 on CMT, you can find them all at BrokenSkullRanch.com, every single one of them. Or you can find them at ProWrestlingTees.com/Steve Austin. Hey, Broken Skull IPA over at El Segundo Brewing Company in California. You can find the best IPA in the USA at Whole Foods, Total Wine, and you can order it and it get delivered to your house by going to InsideTheCellar.com or BrokenSkullRanch.com, and we got a link over there for that thing too. And I just got finished hanging out with the guys over at Cold Steel Knives in Ventura, California, talking with Lynn and the gang. The Broken Skull Steve Austin knife is selling like hotcakes. It's a badass knife. It's priced at $111. There's a link down at the BrokenSkullRanch.com to the Cold Steel website where you can dig that knife. That knife will last you a lifetime. Hey, but let me say right now, with all that being said, thank you guys for all the word-of-mouth advertising y'all do on behalf of this podcast. I ain't got no advertising budget up in here, and I appreciate y'all supporting the sponsors of the Steve Austin podcast because they're the ones who let me do this for you free twice a week. So big ups to DDP Yoga and the DDP Yoga Now app. To Onnit, go to Onnit.com/Steve to get 10% off your order. To Scott's Roundup, To thebooks.com. Use my promo code Steve to get 20% off the bouquet of your choice. To workswitchdriver.com. Use the promo code Steve to get free shipping and 10% off your order. And, of course, big thank you to Amazon, who've been supporting this podcast since day one. Just use my Amazon links whenever you're doing any online shopping, and Amazon will kick back a few bucks to the podcast, and it don't cost you nothing extra. There ain't no hidden fees or charges, and you can buy whatever you was planning on buying and help out the podcast in the process. And you can find my Amazon links by going to podcast1.com, clicking the Killer Deals button in the top right corner of the page, and then hitting the Steve Austin Show button. I got Amazon links for USA, UK, and Canada. Anyway, bookmark it. It'll make it real easy to do it in one click. Don't cost you nothing extra. Helps keep my show on the air for free twice a week. Hey, keep listening, folks. The 60-second AP News headlines are coming up next. Until next time, folks, my name is Steve Austin, and I will catch your ass down the road.
Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at podcastone.com. That's podcastone.com.
I want to say thank you to Drop Stop, one of the great sponsors of this show. Drop Stop is the original patented seat gap filler, as seen on TV's Shark Tank. Get the original Drop Stop at buydropstop.com and use code STEVE for 2 free gifts and free shipping. Stay tuned for the latest AP News headlines from Podcast One right after this.
When shopping for car insurance, consider this. Geico has been saving people money on car insurance for over 75 years. So if you're serious about savings, it's simple. Go to geico.com. After 75 years, they know how to save you money.
AP Update, I'm Ross Smithson. Adam Schiff, the ranking Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, says U.S. officials are talking to French intelligence personnel as they try to determine what caused a Paris to Cairo flight to fall out of the sky over the Mediterranean.
Is there any information that we have that would shed light on any of the passengers? But there's nothing yet to confirm the cause of the plane crash.
FBI Director James Comey says intelligence agents from around the world, including some of his, are collaborating on possible causes of the Egypt Air crash.
So far, at least, we have no claim of responsibility or evidence that this was an intentional act, but the FBI, as you would expect, is working with our partners around the world to try and gain a better understanding of what happened. Given that we don't see any indication yet.
None of the 66 people on board American. AP Update, I'm Ross Simpson.